The best thing you can do is the next conference we have, show up to that conference. The next training call we have, show up to the training call. The next opportunity you have to grow, show up to that opportunity. And do that consistently long enough, and the law of increasing returns will now be working with you, as opposed to you climbing the mountain, because time has now done its job. Show up.
I am your host, Nate Maddox. Look, I'm very excited about who we have as our guest speaker, our very own Mr. Christian Pounder. He's no stranger to the leaderboards. You know his name. I think he has got some very exciting things to talk to us about today. That's been on his heart. I was talking to him, earlier in the week, and he was kind enough. Even though if you see his screen, he is juggling. Little Bo has some sickness that he's dealing with. And we have a legend in the house standing behind Christian, Mr. Russ Tessman, who apparently has flown in to spend some time with Christian. So I'm sure Christian will tell us a little bit about that. Christian, I know you're juggling a lot, man. I'm gonna run through the numbers. I've got some housekeeping notes and some pretty exciting announcements, but I'm gonna hold that to the end of the call. Real quick, let's go through the numbers, and then I'm going to turn it over to our guest. So this is, since we're kind of short on time, I'm just going to go through the top three for last month. Now, this is the top three paid business, paid uncapped premium. So we got number three, Mr. George Ramel, $11,819 paid. And number two, check this out. You'll love this, Christian. With $23,415, Miss Kimberly Crosby, so check this out, $23,415. Now, coming in the number one spot, none other than today's guest, Christian Pounder, $46,080 paid last month. And, we always say, hey, if you can just keep up and do about half as much as your mentor, you're going to be okay. And Kim is tracking that, 23,000 with Christian doing 46. And I'm sure she's not too upset with her payday from last month. So awesome job, Kim. I heard you had a promotion. Maybe Christian will speak to that. But you just keep making waves and setting the bar high. And it's been incredible to watch your business take shape and take form. We're all very excited for you. So going through today, as of this morning, whenever I pulled the numbers, I know a lot of you guys have apps you've written this week. We're having a pretty good week so far, a lot of you. So maybe some of those numbers are not in here, but this was what was reported and already in the system so far this week, month to date numbers. We've got Mr. Mike O'Shea, $1,500. Mr. Brad Schmidt, even though being out of the country, somehow still writing business like always, $2,395 so far this month. Mr. Josh Harriet, $3,000 of AP. Check this out, Christian. Matt Miller, $4,800. Hey, Matt, buddy, your name looks good on the leaderboards, my friend. Mr. Mike Stevens stepping it up, $6,906. Myself, Nate Maddox, $7,167. George Ramel, $7,922 so far. Stephanie Owens, George, better watch Stephanie. She's beating you again, my friend. Stephanie Owens, so far this month, halfway through the month, $8,992 of business. Miss Kim Crosby, $9,325. Christian Pounder, $14,330. And number one so far as of the 15th, halfway through the month, we have Mr. David Begley with $18,480. So a lot of you guys are tracking for a pretty big month if you take those numbers and double them. So guys, I know it's Friday afternoon. I want to thank everybody for hopping on. I'm pretty excited about today's call. I think the timing of the message that Christian's going to be sharing with us is, a lot of us are in that vital stage of our business. In the very beginning, you're starting to get momentum. There's a thing that happens where you're at this pivot point where, depending on your habits and you setting very specific missions for yourself and whether you follow through that or not, momentum is the name of the game in this business. So protecting that momentum, building it, guarding it with your life, because it's easy to lose. But for those of you, I'm very excited. You got some momentum going. I think that you're right there on that pivot point about to really start taking off. But could you screw it up? Absolutely. You don't want to. You have to start all the way over. So be mindful of that. And I think what our guest is going to talk to us today about, if we can, take some of this and apply it, I think that we'll all be better off. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you my friend and a business partner, and the stud number one, top agent in our crew, Mr. Christian Pounder. Take it away, Christian.
Sure. Thanks, Nate. Good to see everybody. David, congrats on a solid month so far. And appreciate David and Jenna and Brad for what they do on the advanced market side and the debt free for life. That's a very profitable business model they have. So if you're not referring cases to them, you're definitely missing out. A lot of money in that. And there's really not a ton of work for you, the agent. So appreciate you guys. Congrats, Kim. Yeah, I believe she hit elite producer. The first level she hit the 25th of August, it looked like. So great job, Kim. I remember when Kim got started, we talked every day. She just had a lot, she just had to learn a lot, but great attitude. And she just continues to try to get better. But so congrats to you, Kim. Looking forward to your first year that you make six figures, with us. So great job. I guess in my life, what Nate said about habits, at the end of the day, that's all your life is. It's just going to be just a result of your habits. I mean, there's nothing more and nothing less. As far as how those habits are formed, there's a few different variables that go into that. But, if you just show up and do a certain thing consistently enough, long enough, it's just going to be a habit. It's going to take over. So it's really all you need to focus on is just what you're going to do today. But Nate, at the end of the day, I know me and you were talking about some different facets of the business, not really tied to the income or doing what we need to do to make the money, but really on the other side of like the mental and the emotional aspect of your own life. Because really this business is not complicated. It's actually very simple. It's actually easy. The hardest part from what I've noticed is just life in general. So life in general will get in the way of this business and it'll make this business seem hard, but it's really not the business that's hard. It's life just in itself that's hard. And it's being able to fit this business that's easy inside of that life. And it doesn't, it makes it tough, but that's why it's so important to work on yourself. I heard Jim Rohn say, if you work on your job, you can make a living. If you work on yourself, harder on yourself than your job, you can make a fortune. And to me, from what I also learned through these short 7 years I've been doing this, the money that you earn doing this is great because you can provide, everything costs money. That's just, it is what it is. And you got to make a good income to enjoy luxuries of life, taking vacations when you want, saving money, not being worried about finances, going out to eat, whatever. That takes a good bit of income. But at the end of the day, it's definitely the least valuable of your assets that you can accumulate. Really the best assets that you're going to get for yourself are things you can't necessarily see, which is going to be, the spiritual and mental side of your development, your family life, your patience, your persistence, your ambition, your motivation, your compassion, kindness, the way you treat others. Like all these things are inward, but they have the greatest value, definitely above the money. That's for sure. If all you earn is a paycheck, you'll always be broke, right? So it's really important to build yourself up in other areas so you can have a well-balanced, full, rich life in general. And I know Nate has actually added a tool on his website, the PTPGROUPS.info site, and it's actually this cool little growth tracker. So I haven't necessarily used this tracker specifically, but the format of how it's laid out, obviously that's, you know, that's what your goal in life is, to have that well-balanced life. So I would definitely go check that out. Nate, if you want to let me share my screen, I can.
I just updated it. You should be able to share.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Growth tracker. It's right on the first page. This website looks good, Nate. So go to download. So I'm not going to go into this fully. That's not what this call is about, but go check this out. It's a very good way to organize your thoughts, organize your priorities, your goals. Because what you think about, that's what's going to come about, right? That's what your energy goes into. That's where your actions come from. That's where your habits are built. So it all starts with your thinking. So if you're just thinking about what you want to accomplish every day and keep that on the forefront of your mind, that's what you're going to naturally be stepping toward every day, is what you're thinking about. So check this out. This is a great tool here. Make sure your life is balanced and running efficiently. Definitely go check that out. As far as what I really want to talk to you about, what I got with Nate about, was the beauty or the impact of earning your contract increases. So you start out at a 70, which is, you know, it's good. 70%, you know, most businesses, restaurants, for instance, their profitability is like 5%, maybe on the high end. Any other business you're looking at, that profit and margin is maybe 30%, maybe even on a high end. So the fact that you can start 70% on your profitability is very nice. But as far as the beauty of those contract raises, if you set a goal, you know, I believe everybody's goal should be to get to a 120 as a personal producer. So you want to get to a 120. Okay, you get to a 120, you're making 120%. You're making 20% more of what you actually write on your policy. That's pretty awesome. That's the goal for every producer. But if you see, even if you set your goal for 95, you got to do 15 apps in a month to get to 95. So if you issue pay 15 grand for 2 months in a row, you're going to get to 95%. Once you get a contract raise, you'll never go down. Like, that's the cool thing about, like, I used to, when I got started in business, that's what I would focus on at a time, would be my next contract. And I would push for that. I would obviously try to do more, but if I get that contract, it's like over long term and years, you're talking about that percentage, even if it's 15%, if you break that down and you talk about 2 or 3 years worth of business you're issuing, that's a substantial amount. So the contracts are a great way to stay focused, have a goal, and make money while you have your goal. And the conferences, I guess, too, just thinking about it. I mean, because that was what they preached every single conference, was the contract increases, the contract raises, how to build your business. We'd go twice a year. We'd get together, and like, you would leave and have so much ammunition on how to go execute your business. I mean, Nate, I guess I could open the floor and see if anybody has questions, if there's anything in particular you want me to address or hit on that we need to work on. Or,
I mean, you've said a lot in the sense that, you know, it's not the business that's hard. Life itself is what's hard. You know, I mean, the business is tough. It's simple. It is tough, but so is life. It's no tougher than life is. It's tough because everything that you face in life is the same kind of stuff you're going to face in business. You know, not everything working out, like setting a goal and, you know, maybe getting sidetracked or losing focus from that, you know, before the deadline that you set for yourself. But when you said working on yourself is what's important, because the person you become is far more important than your income. And usually, you know, the more money that comes in just kind of amplifies whoever, you know, Not that you are right now, because I mean, just talking to Christian, I mean, it's a completely different person talking to him right now than, when I first met you even. Um, but that's because you have been constantly working on yourself and more focused about who you are becoming than what you're getting. And as a byproduct of that, the things that you're getting, I mean, hey, the last 180 days, Christian, you've written 179 applications somehow with sick kids, juggling, your schedule and everything, for I think over total uncapped submitted business like close to $300,000. I mean, there's a lot of people on the call and myself, whenever I was getting into business, that would hear numbers like that and it would just, I just need to try to make an extra three, four, $5,000 a month. But it's not about that with you. And I've watched you grow and your business grow. For years I've been honored and had the blessing to do that. And it's mainly because that's a byproduct of what your main focus has always been, more so on who you're becoming. So that's why I wanted to take some time and design this tool for all of us, because it basically helps you stay focused on the things that I know just by filling this out, even if you put zeros on here every day. So, like using this as your to do list, pending business, requirements you need to do, people you need to call, notes, using this as your to do list every day kind of forces you to face your goals, and on this side, it's kind of your job, your the effort that you personally put in daily to make those deposits 2 and 3 days later. Um, but just by putting zeros on this, being conscious of it, knowing what you need to do to hit your next promotion or your monthly goal, knowing where you are right now. The right side is more that long-term income, delayed gratification, being a business owner and scaling your business. But this is basically, these are the metrics that matter whether you're aware of it yet or not. So getting in the habit of tracking these is what is going to make the difference. But most of what you said, and I do these life balance wheels all the time because I am always very laser focused on stuff. Like if I feel like, the business isn't where it's supposed to be, I mean, y'all have talked to me in the middle of the night, especially West Coasters. I'll just snap and do nothing but work on the business, or go out and go on a tear for personal production. Or, you know, the thing is, whenever I focus all my energy on that, if what this is for is you put yourself, you just kind of check in with yourself 1 through 10, where you're at right now in each one of these metrics. The problem is if you can't find a balance, how far and how fast do you think you can travel on a wheel with a flat spot on it, right? It's going to limit your growth. And I think that goes a lot with what you said. But this is a cool tool, like Christian said. Check this out. I encourage you guys to use that as your to do list. But Christian, I guess I know your story, and I know you're juggling a lot right now with baby Bo and everything that's happening. I think Russ kind of stepped in for you, and is tending to him right now. Um, if you could reach back, and I know it's been a while, and you've been the front runner and led by example and really carried the flag for a while for all of us. But before you go in closing, if you could kind of reach back and think about, those first 1 or 2 years, because that's where a lot of people are now. I remember talking to you after your first calendar year and you being felt down on yourself for only making $60,000 your first year. Whenever we met, you were making $10 an hour and had no real picture or vision of even being able to make 60,000 that next year, but watching your growth, maybe if you could put yourself back in that place, going from 60 to 380 in a year, you didn't know that was going to happen, at that time. And this is where a lot of us are right now, so if you could go back and talk to Christian, in that first year or two, what would you say, and what would you encourage people to kind of focus on, and maybe, just some tips or point them in the right direction of what you did, maybe books you read or things like that, that kind of helped you on the trajectory that put you to get to where you are now? I think
Sure,
that would
that's a
be
great
most helpful.
question. I mean, really what I would say is if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, the best thing you could do is just be doing that tomorrow. Be doing that the next day. So if I could go back to myself, I would tell myself, just keep doing what you're doing. Because really everything takes time, and time is the variable that you have no control over. There's 24 hours in a day. That sun comes up the same time every day and goes down every day at the same time. You cannot control that. So time is just part of the variable, it's part of the equation, but it's an uncontrollable variable. So I could have all the right things that I'm doing, but unless time has done its work, the result's not there. So that's the thing that you have to understand is you're doing all the right things, but time has to play its part, and everything has its own time. So if you just keep doing what you're doing and be consistent, that's all you have to do. That's all you have to do, because time will take care of everything else. And then, like when you go plant a tree, it starts as a seed. You could do all the right things to that tree. You could water it, you could get it the right soil, you could get it the right climate, everything. But it is not going to become a tree until time has done its job. There's nothing you can do about it. You did all the right things. You have to do the same in life and in this business specifically. You can do all those right things, but everything has its own rate of growth, and time will be the deciding factor on that curve or that rate. So if you just show up, The best thing you can do is the next conference we have, show up to that conference. The next training call we have, show up to the training call. The next opportunity you have to grow, show up to that opportunity. And do that consistently long enough, and the law of increasing returns will now be working with you, as opposed to you climbing the mountain, because time has now done its job. So,
man, I know you gotta juggle sick babies, and thankfully, Russ Tessman's there, guys. If y'all haven't had the chance to meet Russ, maybe one of the next boot camps or big national trainings we have, he'll be there. Russ is an incredible guy. I was hoping that he would be in the room where I could at least introduce him to you guys. He's been a big part of, and David Begley, George Ramel, Christian. Even though he's not necessarily part of our agency or anything, I mean, we've all been in this business together, figuring things out together. And Russ is just one of those golden souls that, incredible guy. He actually manages and has started a really big charity that they do a lot of work for, an orphanage in Africa, and they fly out there and they build a lot of clinics. And they fly out there a couple of times a year. Me and George are hoping to go out there next year, but if you want any information on that, feel free to reach out. We have Zooms with the kids there. You always kind of wonder, seeing those commercials, if who's really getting the money. But at least with Russ, he flies over there and will FaceTime us with the kids. We sponsor them through high school, because they don't have any, whenever they reach a certain age, if they don't go to high school, then they got to basically be kicked out on the streets just due to weird laws over in Kenya. But if you guys are interested in that, feel free to check it, to reach out to me, and we'll point you in the right direction to look into some of that stuff. A lot of the people you see on the leaderboards are a part of that. Even if we play a small role, we like to try to, pour back in. And, at a certain point, once as you're afloat, it's not about what you're getting so much as about what you're giving. And as soon as that mindset switched for me is when my business took off. You know, with me being completely broke, scared to death, having a house fire and not having anything, of the things you need every day. At first, it was very hard to focus on anything other than changing my situation and getting some cash flow in. But as soon as I could flip that switch of not focusing on what I'm gaining or getting personally and what we're actually doing for the client, that's when things took off. And a lot of times it takes uh, a death benefit claim for that to happen. Hopefully, none of your people get sick or die or anything anytime soon. I just dealt with my 27th claim not too long ago. That really puts things in perspective and, you know, keeps the mundane things that kind of, making your dials and running your schedule and everything. You can kind of get caught up in, the mundaneness of that sometimes. But what we do for the client is extremely important. And, those of you nodding heads, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. You know what that feels like to show up to the family's house with that check and make sure mom and the kids don't lose their house. So never lose sight of that. Uh, I would like to kick it over for a minute to Mr. David Begley, the wizard that runs our Debt Free for Life and retirement solutions department. Him and Brad and his league of extraordinary men, I call it. Except now, I guess I have to find a new word since Jenna Booker is part of the team, and she's the one kind of working in the background to make sure all of you get paid for the get paid and get paid fast. She handles a lot of the back end stuff. So Jenna, we're all very grateful for you. I don't even know everything that you do, but I have a good idea. And it's all the things that if I did it, you would all be screwed because I'm no good at any of that stuff. So David's nodding his head. Like, give Nate somebody to talk to on the phone. Other than that, don't let him handle your paperwork, right, David? All right, so guys, I want to kick it over to David. David, what's going on? Is there anything going on? Just kind of fill us in on what's going on in the retirement solutions department. I know Brad, I think, is out of the country, but still, of course, popping numbers on the leaderboard somehow. But I know you guys, Jenna was dropping bombs on the leaderboard the other day. So just kind of catch us up. We haven't heard from you for a while. So turn it over to you for a bit.
Two quick things. So Jenna has very graciously began to help report the numbers on the band app. So very grateful for that. And like Nate said, it's a huge asset to have somebody doing everything they can to get a business from the starting line to the finish line, because ultimately we're in this. The thing is, when we get paid, that means the client has a plan in place. That means we're doing well. And second thing is, I'm not necessarily surprised, but I don't know how I'm not surprised, but like Brad is in the bush in South Africa. And he may be back now, but yeah, I don't know how he managed to get business in this past week or whatever numbers you read, because he's been there for like more than 2 weeks. And in the summer, he was in Europe for 6 weeks, but that's how he rolls. This is what I want to do, Nate. So I just took the screen share. So I want to read this. This is from Kimberly Crosby, and you've already heard her name a bunch of times for very good reason. So this is my Calendly. This is an email I got, an appointment that Kimberly booked on my calendar for me to meet with a client. She says, Cleon, I want to introduce you to David Begley, the person we spoke on the phone about just now. I'll come back to that first sentence. I think he can be the conduit to making your dream a reality. David, Cleon is retired military as well as retired DOD. He told me his dream and goal is to leave his wife $1 million and have the house paid in full so that she'll be able to continue taking care of their adult special needs son. Since that is your area of specialty, we looked at your schedule. 6 p.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, August 23rd is the time we reserve for Cleon and his wife. David, you've been fortunate to serve many happy families like Cleon's family. And I know you'll do the same for Cleon, his wife, and son. This is an example of a A+ introduction, like top-notch, can't hardly do it better than that. She gives good detail and context. She didn't write a book, but I really want to go back to this first sentence. Nate, this is not somebody that Kimberly wrote a policy for. This isn't somebody she even wrote a mortgage protection plan for. I don't think that she actually had a full appointment with them. I think this was a short call, like she says, spoke on the phone just now. So this is an example of what you would call a no sale. Now, Nate, how much does a lead go for these days?
Brand new A lead, mortgage protection, direct mail lead. You're doing good with any source if you're paying $75.
So let's
per
say
lead. That's
this
good.
costs her $75, right? Like, let's say 75. If it was like a C lead, it's like $2, right? So it could range anywhere in there. So she paid money, contacted this person. She made this introduction. This introduction is going to equal, I just did the math on this. This is about $3,400, about $3,400 that Kimberly will end up making on this. And I'm not talking about premium. I'm talking about after she gets her referral pay, she makes about $3,400 on this. And it's just because she took the time to have a conversation and make a quality introduction. She has had absolutely nothing to do with this since then. Absolutely nothing.
David, could you, for those that don't know and haven't, we've got a lot of people that are starting to dial, coming out of their test. They're going to be dialing and booking their mortgage protection leads. Some of them don't even know, man. I mean, they know that if they help them, the insurance companies are going to pay direct deposit, $600-700 or something, $500 a pop.
Yeah, so I'll keep that simple.
They don't know. So look, why don't you do this? Keep it simple and explaining to them. Just kind of go through the concept. There's plenty of resources and videos on the website.
Yeah.
If you would go to ptpgroups.info and show them how to access your calendar through the referral team.
On ptpgroups.info, I know that you can book a meeting. So if you find my calendar, so referral team there. So click whatever you're supposed to, click there. Those are two pictures, one good one. Let y'all figure out which. Keep going. I'm just kidding. So schedule consultation, David Begley. All right, click it and see what happens. And there is, so 15-minute. You want to select the 15-minute one. And listen, this is what you're making an introduction for. You're making an introduction for somebody, you're meeting with someone for mortgage protection. And sometimes you write a policy, sometimes you don't. The example I just showed you from Kimberly was a time that she did not. So I think there's a lot to be said there. The point is, you're going to talk to people that are already trying to pay their house off quicker. You're going to talk to people that debt comes up in conversation. People that are interested in paying off their debt quicker and having some cash at the end of it to stay out of debt. You make the introduction. Now, Kimberly, she has, we've paid several policies that she's put on the books, and she really does know and understand what I do. She has a good grasp of how there are several different ways that I can help somebody. But even if you don't know and understand all of that, if you come across, let's just keep this simple, Nate, and I mean this. If you come across a situation where you can't help somebody, but they're expressing interest in what you're talking about, you just don't have the solution for them, that's a person you make an introduction with. Stephanie Owens has done it. Mike Stevens has done it. George has thought about it and said, nah, I don't need the extra money. But most everybody else here has done it, giving George a hard time because I love him. Anyways, that's what you want to do. People are getting more than generously compensated for just making an introduction that took 5 minutes of time. So really, this is more of a kudos to Kimberly conversation, because this is just my job. Like, this is what I do. There's a lot of good stuff going on. Like, there's a lot of good things going on behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. And man, like Christian said too, this is what I like. One of the last times we had a meeting, Christian talked about meetings. Well, we had one, and I hadn't met Kimberly at that point. I talked to her on the phone, and I met her, and she said, it might have been a Thursday. So happy Thursday, David. And I was like, oh, Kimberly. Like, the way that Kimberly speaks on the phone, text, emails is exactly the person that she is. And the beauty of the introductions that she makes is, like, the first thing I'm telling them is, hey, Kimberly, I don't know how long you've known her. Did you just meet her recently for more? Okay, cool. Well, she is the most fantastic lady. And if she's helped you with anything, you're in the best hands. And even if she hasn't, like, she's as genuine as it gets, and how she came across to you is exactly how she is. And I know most of the people on this call, well, I say most of the people, there's a lot of new faces. There's a lot of y'all I don't know. We can get to know each other. That's not too hard. But I'm going to build up the person who's making the introduction, and I do it earnestly. I'm not going to make something up. Like, I'll say Mike Stevens is a real nice guy. Like, him and his wife are a lot of fun. He's got terrible taste in football, but besides that, he's very solid. Mike's a Steelers fan, so that's why I say that. But I try to make it personal and real. But yeah, Nate, kudos and hats off to Kimberly.
Thank you, David. We're gonna wrap up here in a moment. We don't want to take up too much of your time on a Friday. Just to I want to recap a couple things with you, as well as I've got a couple of announcements and something that just came down the pipeline. To kind of recap a couple things with, what David Begley and our referral team do. If you want, first of all, he said he doesn't know a couple of you. I would go as far as to say, if there's one person you want, to know you and to like you, it would be David. All of those numbers I just read off are literally people that have leveraged our system, gone through the referral database while they are, writing taking care of their families. They're controlling their cash flow based on their appointments that they run and the clients that they that they meet with, and looking for opportunity and just being a good connector, right? They're edifying David, setting a good, introduction up. And then in turn, David comes in and then edifies you as the producer and say, man, if Nate wrote you a policy, he's incredible at what he does. He sheds that right back onto us. And there's a lot of power in that, rather than you trying to act like an expert on something, to just introducing to someone else. Take note of that. Get on the PTP group site, check out the tool, the to-do list, the wheel of life balance, and the promotion guidelines, that new tool that I just posted. It's one of the first things on the site. But in closing, I've got a very big announcement. You've heard a couple people mention how important conferences are and have been to them. I can actually pull up line graphs and show you why you would want to go to conferences. Basically, anytime that we shut production down across the entire company nationwide. Now, this is our marketing company, our marketing partners, Equus Financial. So there's a ton of agencies, kind of under this umbrella or in this partnership. Anytime we all stop production across the entire nation and fly together, it's for one reason and one reason only. Christian mentioned earlier, they're always talking about, how to make your next promotion guidelines. It's about raising the profitability in your business where you are right now, getting to the next level. It's about, increasing your profit stream, which is, why we would stop together, and I'll do that. So the relationships you make there, the things that you learn there are very implementable, and you can leave there. And, I know it's been if I could ever boil one thing down to me, in my business that changed things in the first year, it was, attending one of those, driving across the country. I couldn't even afford a plane ticket. I had to drive across the country and get in front of these people, who have now partnered with me and helped me scale my business. So that's in February. It's not really even announced yet. I'm just giving everyone here the inside scoop. It's going to be, I believe, in Raleigh, North Carolina. but put that on your radar. These are the things that, will increase your business and really jumpstart. If you're new, it'll put you 6 or 8 months ahead of the game of trying to figure things out yourself and watching videos. If you can fly in and get in the same room as the people who have already been where you are right now and already are where you're trying to get to next. We're going to have live sales, live dials. We'll do live recruiting. This is not like a role playing thing. Everything, you guys know, everything that we teach on is very specific. If you get on ptpgroups.info, what do you see? Live sales, live dialing, all of that. So really encourage everyone to take advantage and really leverage all of these resources, not only for yourself, but to scale your business. If you can get 3 or 4 people in these rooms and have the best of the best in the industry, teach them how to go out and do this. You don't have to teach them. You just leverage the team. That's how I built my business in the very beginning. So, take note of that. Be aware of it. I want to thank everybody for hopping on. I know it's Friday. We all got more exciting things to do than hop on a Zoom and talk about insurance, right? But it's not about insurance. It's about you taking control and controlling your cash flow and putting yourself in a position that no one else can have their thumb on you or tell you when you can go on vacation or how much you're worth to them. This is about freedom to me, and I want to thank every one of you for being on. I'm honored to be in business with you. I'm excited to watch your business grow. If you need anything, reach out to me directly. I encourage you to use the tools that I just put on the website to kind of wrap your head around and have specific goals. So let's keep rocking and rolling. It's halfway through the month, and we'll see you on the leaderboard.